Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to the PM Therapy Podcast Live Edition. I am here with Mehnaz, CEO of Cognico AI Consulting. All right, so what we're going to be talking about today is how to turn your PM skills into extra income. And I think that I have the right person to talk about this. And the reason is because Mehnaz is a four-time founder, a PM who is a four-time founder. So I'm so excited. I'm going to let her introduce herself. So Mehnaz, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to people that don't know about you?
Thank you so much for the warm introduction, and thank you so much for having me on the show. Really excited to be here. Today, I'm joining all the way from Cambodia, so my internet might be a little choppy, just a heads up. Um, so yes, four times founder. It feels a lot heavy, but it's really not. I am also a project manager. I've been a project manager by trade for many, many years. But what I've been able to do is utilize my project management skill set to build multiple companies and businesses. Um, a lot of them failed, but four of them thankfully took off. So that's what I'm really excited to share today is how I have been able to kind of utilize the project management skills into building multiple streams of income.
Amazing, amazing. And I actually didn't know that many actually failed. So
Many.
that's something that'll be interesting to delve into. Because
Uh-huh.
oftentimes, like failure, as I say, teaches us more than successes, right? So, yeah. By the
With
way,
nine failed businesses before.
amazing. Wow. So that's 13 in total. Man,
Yeah.
anyway, we'll probably get into this, but
Yeah.
because I wanted to ask, like, what kind of is there a certain type of personality that does it to go like 13 businesses? I know some people are even scared to. I mean, I was scared to start one, but 13 times to keep on going like that, that's really amazing. But before we delve into all of
Mhm.
that, for those of you that are tuning in, if you can just if you can hear us, just put that in the chat. Also, let us know where you're tuning in from. I know we usually have people from all over, so please just mention that in the chat. Yeah, I can already see Oluwaseun has um, calling in from Nigeria. Glad to have you here. Others, wherever you're calling in from, just mention that in the chat. All right, Farouk also from Nigeria. Glad to have you here. All right, so awesome. I'm based in Toronto right now. Mehnaz is based right now. She's actually based in Cambodia. But yeah, so Mehnaz,
Yes.
let's start the talk proper. So
Hmm.
I want to start from I want to start from what made you decide to, because you actually had a 9 to 5
Yes.
very good job, stable income, pension, was a government job. What made you decide to drop that and just go full throttle into entrepreneurship?
Um, so I actually like to share that story, I need to backtrack a little bit. So I actually grew up in a household where my father is an entrepreneur and my mom is a social entrepreneur. So she was working in the nonprofit side. My father, he had his garments industry business back in Bangladesh. So I grew up in a very entrepreneurial household where I already had that mindset that, eventually I'm gonna have my own business. My parents were very much self-made. So when I moved to Canada, um, since my first week of being in Canada, I started different business ideas, different things on the go while I was a student. So, full-time student, I had a part-time job, but still on the side, I was working into these different side hustles. As I mentioned, nine of them failed until my first business took off and it was a social enterprise. So, over the last few years, while I've been really successful in building my career within the government as a project manager, in the back of my mind, I was already aspiring and preparing myself to be a full-time entrepreneur. So even though this decision was this February, but it has been in the making for many, many years. In fact, when I gave my notice back in November, I had like a full 3 months plan on how I was going to approach this. So I just needed to make sure that I was ready because I didn't come from a lot of privilege. I financially had to pay my, student loans, my debt, and everything. So that's one of the big reason why I didn't go into it full time from the get go and had to build myself in the corporate world and build some capital and then go into it. But yeah, it came with a lot of stress because there was a time when I started to love my corporate career as well. And it was almost like, okay, I'm building myself in management. I'm very fortunate to get into like one of the youngest women of color in the government as well, where I was. So I was like, okay, I can make a lot of difference through this career path, and I love it. I had an amazing team, but at the same time, the entrepreneurship path is also calling me. So it was a very tough choice, I should admit.
Right. So I know you grew up in a household, in Bangladesh, both
Yeah.
both parents are entrepreneurs. So has this always been something that you saw yourself doing from the very get go, from when you were young? Like, was that always the plan? Like, you knew that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
No, I knew that. So I like problem solving. So the first time I found myself starting like an initiative, I wouldn't call it even a business, was like I was 14 years old. I went to this high school project with my like group work, and we were taken into outside of the city into this village type area back in Bangladesh. And that was the first time where I actually saw poverty up close. Like I wasn't so aware of what was happening outside the city I was living in. And it really opened my eyes. Like so many people needed the support. So I came back home and I was like, I told my mom that, okay, we need to do something about it. Like, and I couldn't rest. So, my mom had to also kind of feed my curiosity. So she said, okay, you know what? We can start hosting some session where we teach, women about, like basic maths, English. So we did that for a while. So I always kind of moved through life into like, okay, what's the problem or what's something that I can solve in the society or, even in different markets. So my journey to entrepreneurship was driven by not thinking about what business I'm going to open, but more so like, okay, what problem is in front of me and what I can do to solve it in real time. So for me, I would say it's really like a mindset.
Mm.
Could be that because I grew up in that household, I was surrounded by that environment that it shaped my mindset. But I feel like um, it was in me for the longest time. I just needed to find it and shape it through different experiences.
And is there a tension between being a project manager and an entrepreneur, or is it more intertwined than people would think?
I feel like it's 100% intertwined. And I will say so because so funny story, I never intended to be a project manager.
Mm.
I went to a workshop, a conference where I was in the same table as the chief information officer at that time of the department. And I was very vocal about, change, about, in the government. And for some reason, that individual, was drawn to me, like they saw something in me. So they wrote in a piece of paper, like, okay, we are looking for project manager. It feels like you have the skill. Do you have your PMP? And I'm someone who jumps at opportunity. So I wrote back. It was a loud room. So we weren't even talking. We were literally writing in the piece of paper. And I was like, no, I don't have my PMP, but I can get it. And when I wrote I can get it, I had no idea what were even the requirements of getting an PMP. So they were like, okay, you know what? Once you get your PMP, email me, your resume, whatsoever. So I came back home and I looked into the requirement and I met the requirement because I had significant entrepreneurial experience that I could spin as project management experience when I filled out my application. It got approved in few days, and I only studied for a week, and I got above target in all four domains. And I'm not even a good student. Like I'm not super like, but this I was able to nail, and I feel like the reason is because when I was doing my studying or doing my exam, I could resonate. Like I had to learn the terminology, but I feel like the heart of it I could really understand very easier than when I was doing other subjects in my school.
And when did you do your PMP?
I did my PMP back in 2021,
Okay, that's interesting. So you just studied for 1 week, and you
one
passed
week.
the PMP. Wow! And
Yeah,
this is even before you were not even a project manager. Like you did this because you wanted to land this job, right?
exactly.
Oh, that is really fascinating. I know I I studied for a while and I had to take a class, but that's really fascinating. Okay, so from your perspective, like the skill sets required to become an entrepreneur and the skill sets required to become a successful project manager, you see them as, there's a lot of overlap between both of them.
Huge
All right.
overlap.
Okay, so going back to the decision to leave the stable job now, because there are lots of people that are thinking, all right, I have this project management skill set, and I want to see how to maybe augment my income or
Hmm.
replace my current income. So, what made you decide to leave? As opposed to maybe doing it side by side, or or did you do it side by side? Like, maybe can you walk us through
Yes,
what was going through your mind? Like, what was the calculus?
yes, 100%. So again, I grew up in a not so privileged household. Like when I moved to Canada, right? Very much like self-dependent. And I had the survival mindset for the longest time. And I was like, I can't go back to a life where, I don't like where I'm surviving. So for me, it wasn't like, like a quick decision. It has been in the making for years. But the reason why I was able to do it because I've already built myself other sources of income,
Hmm.
right? So I started investing in real estate in my early 20s. So I had that as a business, right? I was renting out as Airbnbs. Then I had the charity, and I started my consultancy. So I do also career coaching, career consulting. So I had significant amount of clients built up from there. And then my fourth business, which I started after leaving my job, it's like, okay, what else can I do if I'm leaving my government job? I have all of this income that will keep me sustainable, but I also need to start making the same amount of money that I was making with the government job. So basically, I started an IT consulting firm because that was my role within the government as well. So utilizing that skill set. But the reason I was able to do all of this is because I started many, many years ago my side hustles and my income, and I was able to build that capital for myself, like able to build that um like not just the skill set but even financially, like so that I'm not really taking that risk, and also building myself and my network in a way where, let's say if all else fail, if I want to go back to a job, whether it's with the government or with a private company, I am very confident that I can get back into it, right? So it's that mindset, building my network, building myself in a way where I know that obviously it's a risk, but it's not really a risk. It's a calculated risk. Like I know what would be the worst case scenario, and I know like how to risk manage that as well.
Right. So you started, you had the side hustle, and then you now decided to make the jump. Um,
Yes.
so would you recommend that people follow the same path as well? Because and the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of times you see people glorify like burn the boats, like if you want to just
Mm-hmm.
delve straight in, quit your job and all of that. What do you recommend? Like for a PM right now who's listening to this and they wanna see if they can be independent, what would you recommend?
So it really depends on the individual. So when I remember I had a very amazing friend who's also an entrepreneur, and we went to school together. And when they graduated, they were offered like very good jobs, but they knew that they wanted to do entrepreneurship full time and they didn't want to do anything else. They were like, I know what my idea is. I want to go full time into this and I will figure it out. So they had that passion and the mindset from the get go, and they made a lot of sacrifice. Like they're doing amazing right now, like they have a huge team and whatnot, but I've seen them go through that ups and down. But the reason they went full in is because they did not want to do, sometimes people, it gets overwhelming if you're into a job and then you come home and you have to work on, your 5 to 9. It gets a lot. So it depends on, individuals and their capacity. Um, for me, ever since I was in school, I always had 2, 3 jobs. I always had volunteering. I love being active in my day. Like I love doing different things. So it worked out perfectly for me in the sense that not only I was able to build my skill set working in a corporate setup, but I was also building my time management skill. I was also building my capacity to, even my emotional intelligence, right? Like how I was regulating my emotion throughout the day in different contexts, in my job and in my businesses. So I feel like it pushed me to upskill 10 times better, but it also came with its own set of challenges. So it depends on what your setting is, right? Like if you have different commitment in your life, maybe this won't be a feasible path for you. But if you feel like you are ready to push yourself out of your comfort zone and you want to pursue entrepreneurship, but you might not have the capital right now, or you want to take more calculative risk, like me, then I 100% recommend that start something on the side. Even if you work on it 2 hours a day, that's a lot. Like consistency goes a long way. Like if I had gone full time into some of my businesses, yeah, maybe it would have taken me 2 years rather than 5 years, but doesn't matter. Like I got here in 5 years, and it doesn't matter if it takes someone 2 years. At the end of the day, what matters is like you getting there, right? So I feel like as long as you have that mindset, definitely go full steam ahead.
Okay. If somebody wants to now start something, let's
Mm-hmm.
assume they want to start the side hustle, where would you recommend they start? How do they decide on what to do?
For me, I started by identifying what are some of my interests and my skill set. So my first side hustle business was basically I was selling food in different events. I used to have like a table. My brothers cooked really nice meal. I'm not a very good cook, but I knew business and finances. I said like, if you guys are willing to cook, let's start booking some events and we can start, selling home cooked meals from Bangladesh, right? So I did that for a while. I knew that I was really good at finding opportunities for myself. So I knew that I had that as a skill, and I was already doing it as a practice for friends and family anyway. So I thought, okay, why not I start utilizing that skill, do some learning myself, and then started my career consulting, career coaching business. So it's like you can start with basically anything. You can start with an existing skill that you have or an existing interest that you have, or you just completely learn something new. Like with my AI and IT consulting, I had to significantly spend time in learning new tools, in doing things that I had never even done in my entire life. But I was able to learn that and start my IT consulting business. So it's up to you how far you want to push yourself.
Right. So the food business was in Bangladesh, correct?
No,
That
in Canada.
in Canada. Oh, I see. I see. So that
Yes.
was your first was that the first side hustle that you went into?
Um, For side hustle, yes, that made money.
I see. Okay. And then, because then you did real estate, which is Airbnb. That was after the food business.
Yeah, that was right after I graduated. I got my permanent residency, and I was already starting to save for my down payment, me and my partner. And the day we got our permanent residency, like in 2 weeks, we just made our first investment property.
Right.
And we started renting that, and then we purchased the other ones following that as well.
Okay. And then, you also went into career coaching. So career coaching came after that, right?
Yes, career coaching, I think I started 2022 probably. Before that, I was already, like I said, doing it for friends, family, newcomer as a voluntary service.
All right.
But then I realized, like, I can help individuals much better
Right.
providing it as a service.
Okay. So that makes sense. So going back to, I guess, the calculus, you mentioned where you have the skills, right? And then, also looking at where is the need, right? So basically,
Mm-hmm.
the problem that you're trying to solve. And, it's part of your calculus also interest. Like, what do you
Interest,
love?
yes.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
all right, because that's also the same thing that I did for me as well. So it is skills,
Yes.
it is interest, and then it is
Interest.
what the market is looking for, and it's the confluence of those that where you find ideas. So for me, I know at the beginning when I was looking at skills, because sometimes, because of imposter syndrome, you might think, or if I'm not an expert or a master at this thing, then it's something that I shouldn't consider. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the way I usually think about the skills bucket is, what do you have the potential to be good at, right?
Mm-hmm.
So or like, where do you know more than other people, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if maybe if there are 5 levels to project management, and you're an entry level project manager, but now you have maybe 2 years experience in project management, better than entry level project management, and
Mm-hmm.
that, you can consider yourself um to be good at that. Like, you're good at entry level to all the way to maybe 2 years experience, so you can teach entry level PMs, right? So that's the way I,
Yes.
I like to think about skills. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
No, 100% what you said. And like what you explained, like I came across a couple of years ago. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but the Ikigai
Hmm.
um, template, like it's a Japanese kind of same thing, like, what you are good at, how you can contribute to the society, where your interest lies. And it helped me kind of start reflecting and putting things down on paper, into like, okay, what are some of the things that I'm good at? How can I contribute to society? What are the things that I want to learn? Where is my interest? And it helps kind of narrow down what you want to do with all of that information, like what's the middle ground.
Right.
And I'm also like the same mindset as you in terms of skill set. Like, even if you know a little bit, like for me, when I started my career consulting business, I was by no means an expert, but I knew how to kind of craft different type of resumes. I knew how to write compelling message to recruiters. I knew LinkedIn really well. So I was like, okay, these are some things that I know, which I can start kind of helping people. And once I started, my focus was more into like students, first, second year student, because at that time I just graduated as well. So I was focusing more onto students or newcomers. But eventually I started building my skill set into the career consulting business, and I started coaching more executive level. So it then turned into more executive coaching, right? But if you ask me when I started, I would have never thought that I could one day be coaching executive,
Right.
right? So I had to, like, you have to always upskill, but you can't upskill if you don't start. You have to always start somewhere. That's the key.
Right. And that's such a good point, because a lot of times, like, you can see where you are trying. You can look at the
Hmm.
top of the mountain, and then you become discouraged, right? So it's you just start where you are. And I think one of the things that I usually advise people is, just look at your journey. Like, what have you
Mm-hmm.
done, right? And basically yourself, maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago, like, you can coach those people. You can focus on that. So number one, you have the credibility because you've been there, done that. And number two,
Yes.
you can actually speak quite comfortably
Mm-hmm.
without feeling like an imposter. The imposter syndrome is like, I know a lot of people talk about it. In my experience with imposter syndrome, I mean, I still have imposter syndrome till now, but the insidious thing about imposter syndrome is that sometimes you don't even realize how pervasive and how crippling it can be. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it can be quite real. And I think one of the ways to sort of manage that is to is to do and coach people, that were that sorry, let me phrase that. One of the ways to manage that, or to manage that, is to coach and help people that were in your shoes like a couple of years ago. I hope that made sense. Basically, to coach people that
Yes.
were where you were, sometime back, right? Does that make sense?
It does make sense because then it reminds you that I was there once, and if I can help someone get into, somewhere where I was stuck many years ago, then it's actually helping me with that confidence boost that, maybe I can get out of my situation, or I can get that support as well. So one of the things that also helps me, because I have a lot of anxiety and I suffer with imposter syndrome too. Like even today, for example, I was telling my partner how, the last 6 months we have been traveling and we have been, building and stuff, but it really feels like that, I'm standing still and time is just moving because everything is happening so fast. And I don't know if I'm making the right choices, or, if I'm making the right move, if it's a mistake. So I feel like you'll always feel that way, that you're not doing enough, or maybe this is not meant for you, or so all of that voices.
Hmm.
What really helps me, same as you, is when I work with when I shift all of that to help someone else get through their situation. But also what helps me is my own mentors and my own coaches. Even if you're a career coach and career consultant, you still need like coach yourself or a mentor yourself. So that's something I really believe in. Like even till this date, I have my mentor coach check-in um, at least 2-3 times a month, just to keep me in check, just so I can talk to someone about, some of the things that I am facing in my day to day or in my journey. And it helps a lot just talking to someone
Right.
who have been there, done that.
Right. And how do you, so I think that's a very important, because I also have my coach as well. And I was of the mindset before, like, coaching, like, is it really necessary? I can read books, but when I so I when I was trying to really build my business, I was really just getting stuck. And
Hmm.
then I researched some coaches. I found this coach on LinkedIn, 180,000 followers. I was like, oh my goodness, this is the person that I want to be my coach. It ended up being a scam. Like, she scammed me. I paid like thousands of dollars. She scammed me. Like, after that, I was, it was very painful. But I don't know why I decided to give another person a shot. So I found this other person. He was even charging more than that. But then I decided to go with him. And like, that's one of the best decisions that I've made. Like,
Hmm.
because he had like, what, maybe 8-10 years experience, and he made all the mistakes. So basically, I just paid him to shortcut all of that. Like, within a year, like, I went to the next level, like, with my business
Yes.
systems and all. And you know like, I would do that again and again and again, right? So right now, I'm very convinced of the value of coaching. And if you think about it, like, a lot of the most successful people, like your CEOs and all of these people, they usually have coaches behind them, because like, the
Hmm.
value that you're going to get is just so, is very tremendous. And I don't know, would you agree with that, or would you Slightly disagree?
100%.
Okay.
No, 100%, because that's been my journey as well. Like, I have invested in few different coaches myself, and I find that if I didn't invest in my coaches, um, and my mentors are separate, right? Mentors are more of a relationship basis,
Right.
but I feel like a combination of both has really helped me be where I am and accelerated, because a
Mhm.
lot of the things that I did in business and even in my personal journey, I had no idea that, I had no knowledge to that those information. It would take me a lot of trials and error. So to have someone help me navigate those things, to help me create those roadmap, and follow through, because I feel like the one of the biggest part, at least in my experience of working with a coach, was accountability,
Right.
right? Because sometimes I feel like, without a coach, you don't have, maybe you can find a lot of information in books or in videos, but what really differentiate between information versus really having someone go through a journey with you as a coach is that accountability factor. That having a coach, just one second, I'll grab some water.
No, no worries. And by the way, if you have questions, so please just drop them in the chat, and we will weave them into the into the conversation. Yeah, just while Mehnaz is grabbing some water, shout out people calling in from Vancouver. Shout out to Aish calling in from Vancouver. Prashant from India, welcome. Gloria from Nigeria, hey. Rhonda from California. Daldrid from Mississauga. Um, Angelique from Indiana. Oh my
That's
goodness, Indianapolis. Yeah,
that's
that's
amazing. I love a diverse crowd from all over the globe.
right. Eric from the US. Zawar from Saudi. Oh my goodness, from Saudi. It must be late at night now, I believe. And Akinyemi from Birmingham. So from everywhere. Last time we had
Hmm.
somebody from Saint Grenadines. I was like, "Where is that?"
Oh,
And then I went
wow.
on the map. I went on the map and it's like this. It's in the West Indies. I was like,
Small,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. Welcome everyone. Yeah. So, by the way, if you have any questions or if you have any comments, please put them in the chat and we'll try to weave them in as we continue with the conversation. So, yeah, welcome back, Mehnaz. We were
Yes.
talking about coaches, and you mentioned that they help you with accountability. Um, I guess maybe the question that I can ask is how do you decide, how do you find a coach? How do you decide what coach and mentors to to use or to get in your corner?
So I'll start with mentors because you're not investing money in them. So you can start with mentors, but the thing with mentors are individual that can share their experiences, but because they're not professional coaches, they wouldn't be help you. Like that's the big difference, right? Because oftentimes we think that, oh, I can just talk to someone as a mentor, why would I invest in a coach? But to get good mentors, it's a really lot of trial and error. Because I have had mentors that actually broke my confidence. Because I remember when I was very young, I had a mentor at that time who was working within the government, and they told me that you should leave your job within the government because you are non-immigrant. And I have barely seen people who are non-immigrants get permanent position within the government. So maybe you should just leave and, maybe work in the service industry, get your PR. So that was really bad advice. And I'm glad that I didn't take it, right? But they were not coming from a place of like, bad advice, but they were coming from a place of their own lived experiences.
Right.
And that's the difference between a coach and a mentor, right? Because mentors will give you advice or give you suggestions or recommendation based on their own lived experiences, and not necessarily that they're always going to be right. The reason that I have different mentor is to build my network and to learn about industry. So when I work with a mentor, I'm just learning about the industry. I'm learning about their experiences. I'm not taking advices from mentors. So that's something that I don't do personally.
Mm.
Um, For me, like when I start looking into coaches, I don't usually go for ones that are overly famous. Or the reason being, it's like because you want to go with someone who can provide you with that time, and that's what I found for my journey. Like I wanted someone who have that time to dedicate um with me, and that's how I kind of, and also in my own niche as well, right? So for example, for me, I wanted to build my career or do a consulting firm in the IT. So I would look for coaches or who were in that niche or in that industry that have helped others. And before I could book, I would try to have at least one call with them, and I will try to evaluate that, if this person really has what I'm looking for. It's almost like a reverse job interview, sort of.
Right. No, that makes complete sense. So that's how you distinguish between mentors and coaches. So mentors,
Mm.
they give you their time. A coach gives you the time, but you pay for the coach, right? Okay. So you select a coach, you select mentors, um, and I guess how do you so with the coach, are you pretty much just executing on what they tell you to, like they give you the plan and you're executing, or
No,
okay.
no, a good coach will help you figure it out yourself. So they won't give you the plan. They will actually help you figure out your own vision, your own strategy. They will give you tools and resources, but at the end of the day, like, even for me, when I'm helping my clients, or I don't tell them, like, this is what I did. It worked for me. You should also do the same. I provide them resources into, like, okay, this is what helped me, but what is it that you want to do, and kind of helping them to figure it out, giving them resources and tools, but not really pushing them into one certain direction. The goal is always to help people find their own potential, right? And
Mm,
sometimes it can be something that even an experienced coach might not have the answer to, right? They may work with an individual that has a completely different lifestyle experience, skill set
mm,
that may come as a shock to them. So if someone is a good coach, what they will do is help that individual kind of live up to their full potential, help them strategize, help them build good habits. As I mentioned, the accountability is the big thing, like help them be accountable to what they're saying.
mm,
Because I can go to, like, as an example, like I had a coach, and I remember even when I was gonna start my career consulting business, I was putting it off for few months. I was like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna do it. But for some reason, I was always not prioritizing it. But by working with a coach, they helped me execute it. Right? They didn't tell me that, oh, you do this, and you're gonna have a successful coaching business. Like that's not what they did. But what they did was help me come up with my own plan and my own deadline, and help me execute on them, and made sure that I like saw it through.
right. Okay. No, that makes complete sense. um so now you have a coach.
Mhm.
um do you have different types of coaches for different problems, or have you sort of gone through different coaches, or is it one coach that's sort of taking you through your journey?
No, I try to kind of mix and match and experiment myself. And also another reason is I try to study and learn.
Mhm.
So not only I'm investing in coaches to help me grow as an individual, but obviously I'm a coach myself, and I learn by working and talking with people
Right.
in different styles. So I feel like that mix and match helped me learn different styles. And because I mean, obviously there are different courses I can take to become a better coach, but what other way can you learn than just, working with someone who is doing, what I would essentially be doing with my own clients. And I work with different coaches. I start learning from them into how they are coaching me as well.
Right, right. Yeah, and I think that, there's a bit of similarity with my own journey as well. So, for me, I guess maybe I can take a step back. So, how did I get into career coaching? So, the same thing, skills, interest, and
Mm-hmm.
what's the market looking for. So, initially, actually, for me, I didn't want to get into career coaching. Like, I didn't like. I was like, "What's this HR stuff?" Like, I want to do more high level project management, high level things,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And but I started out on YouTube, and I was just doing videos. But I would notice that a lot of people loved my job search videos. I think one of the most popular thing, my most popular videos was, "Tell me about yourself. How do you answer that question?" Right? And then also when I came to LinkedIn as well, I noticed that like the job search content, like that was what was And then I guess eventually I sort of gave in. So I love teaching, but I wanted to teach something else. But for some reason, the market didn't want that. All right. And then I also had gone through like very difficult, um, just very difficult experiences with the job search, right? So at first, when I first graduated, I was looking for a job, and as an international student, it's not always easy and all of that. And I was
Mm-hmm.
searching for 6 months, and then I decided to change my name. And when I changed my name from Mukhtar to Mark, I got a call, got an interview, got a job. All right. I was like, oh wow, so this is how this works. Then, then after that,
Yeah.
I changed my name back to Mukhtar, but traveled, lived in other places, and then I lived in the Middle East, and I wanted to now like come to Canada. So I came to Canada again, the same thing. Immigrant, can't find a
Mm-hmm.
job. I thought that, I was told to come to Canada. There's so many jobs, but I can't find a job, right? And then I did all the, networking and everything. Eventually, I got the job 6 months later. So both painful experiences I never forgot. And so I took that, and because with my love of teaching, I think that came out in my content, and then I just
Yeah.
started naturally helping people, right? So that's how I sort of got into this space, and now I love it. Like before, it's like I was resisting what the
Yeah.
market was calling me to, right? So there are parallels. It's interest, what the market is asking me
Mm-hmm.
for, and what you're good at, right? So now I'm doing this on the side. I have my 9 to 5. um and also one thing that I also sort of struggled with was, what my 9 to 5, what are they going to be thinking about my social media activity? I was worried about that, but then later on I found out that like all my social media activity was actually increasing my credibility in house.
Yes.
Because I was
Yeah.
creating content adding value, and I noticed that people would treat me differently at home,
Mm-hmm.
in the company, right? So that my side also, it was now bringing in income, and I'm really fast forwarding here. It was really bringing in income, and then I got laid off. Now, when I got laid off, I a part of me was really like, I need to just get another job. But then I was not like, this is the opportunity for me to see if this
Yes.
will work, right? Because I will never have this opportunity again, right? And I now decided to double down, and things have been great. But going to the point of the coach, when I got the coach, uh, like what the coach did for me was that because he had been through this, he has a successful career coaching business, and he gave me a lot of his systems and processes, right? Because a lot of times, like that's what people need to scale, like when you want to
Mm-hmm.
get to like the six
Systems and
figure.
processes. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. See, so you have the talent, you have the skills, but how do you make it a repeatable process and the business and all
Mm-hmm.
of that, right? So this is where like the coach really just made a fundamental difference. So yeah, so that's been my journey, and that's been my experience. And what I find is that like as you grow in business, as you evolve, you will have different problems and different bottlenecks. So at first it was, how do I scale? The next problem could be, okay, maybe how do I solve my funnel? How do I solve my sales
Mm-hmm.
problem? How do I solve my marketing
Mm-hmm.
problem? And then there are coaches that specialize in these different in these different areas? I don't know what I know I talked for a while there, but I just wanted to just layer on my experience with your experience. I don't know what are your thoughts there?
No, I 100% agree. So for me, like I didn't go into like you mentioned like domain specific. I didn't do that, but I see a lot of value in that. So I have been very fortunate because for me, when I went into entrepreneurship, I already had a good team. So my business partner is actually my husband,
Hmm.
uh, with whom I have been together like 17 years now. Like we have been like elementary school sweethearts. So he brings in his system and process. So he's a process engineer himself. And he has a very strong technical background. So everything we do is automated.
Yeah, I think we're having a bit of internet difficulty. While we're waiting for Mehnaz to get back, I guess maybe this is a time to just do a quick quick break. So if you're we are available on Spotify and Apple. Just look for PM Therapy. So please, if you like this, please do follow us and give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple. If you need help landing a 100 to 300 kpm role, just reach out. There should be a link in my bio. Um, and if you are looking to hire PMs, top PMs very quickly, you can also send us a DM. All right. So while we're waiting for Mehnaz to get back, I'm just gonna go through some of the questions that we have. By the way, if you have more questions, just feel free to put them in the chat. All right. So let me start with Ashley. Hello, Ashley White. I've had a PMP. I've had my PMP for a year now, but I haven't been able to land a PM role, namely because I don't have much experience behind the title. Official experience, that is, what would you suggest? This is very interesting because a lot of times people have the opposite problem, right? Like they have experience, but then they're asking, should I get PMP, right? So you have the PMP, but you don't quite have much experience. So I would say, number one, before you can, I would say number one, before you can get the PMP, you must have had some sort of experience, right? Because otherwise your PMP would not have been approved, right? So, I mean, I'm guessing you do have some experience. So you wanna really own that. Another thing that I would suggest is maybe looking at how you can create your own experience, right? So I know that, and maybe Mehnaz will be able to talk about this, but one of the things that Mehnaz has done is that she just founded NGOs, right? She founded,
Mhm.
volunteer, and she was able to build experience. It was almost like a playground. I know we're speaking about this, Mehnaz, right? So Mehnaz, the question is from Ashley. She's saying she has a PMP. She doesn't have a lot of experience behind the title. That's official experience. What would you suggest, right? So I was just going to how you actually just started
100%
your own thing on the
started
side. That just gave you your network, your experience. So do
everything.
you want to talk more about that?
100%. 100%. So all of my other businesses, um, I was trying to make an income, but at the same time, I was also founding a lot of NGOs. And the reason for that is not only I wanted to give back to the community, but I also wanted to use my PM skills into building a team, building processes, building different, like bringing people together. And when I started like my nonprofit organization NLE, it's because it's a volunteer organization, it's a nonprofit organization. When it started, I had a lot of like-minded people. So I have a team, I have a project. So it was really a playground of how can I utilize my skill set to make it a successful project. And once I was able to demonstrate that, my career literally went like, in an upward mobility. Like, because when I landed my first PM role, it was not because of my government experience, it because of how what I did with my nonprofit organization, which is NL Eats. So all of my career, like anytime I go to an interview, I rarely talk about my role with the government. I talk a lot about my nonprofit organization because that's where I was able to maximize my skill set and really demonstrate that I can take a project or an initiative and turn it into an organization or maybe amplify it, or I have the metrics. And that's amazing because sometimes I find like if you are working in a corporate setup, you have limited parameters of how you can perform or what you can do. So if you even like not necessarily you have to start a nonprofit organization, even if you start like a project, because I had a friend who got a job a few years ago in Google, and what they did was they utilized the Google Suite to start their own project and started identifying some problems that Google in their products and started recommending like improvement. So there are like different ways you can demonstrate your skill set, but what really employers are right now looking is for people who can demonstrate those skill set through different experiences.
Right.
Did I
Amazing.
lose you or can you still hear me?
No, I can hear you. I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. So yeah, I mean, for those of you that are very business entrepreneur inclined, if that's the right word, you can go ahead
Oh,
and start a new organization. But you don't have to always go to that level. You can just start a new project. You see a problem that needs to be solved, and then you solve it. So I think Mehnaz, can you hear me? I can hear you. Okay, so I think Mehnaz is having issues, but I'm just gonna continue with the questions. Keep the questions coming. So Danielle mentioned I'm currently a senior PM. How do you think obtaining the PMP? How important do you think obtaining the PMP is for any future roles? The reason I sigh is because I think okay, so the PMP doesn't hurt, right? But what I find that people do is that when they are not getting, if you find that they're not getting jobs, one of the first things that they do is that they go, like, how can I educate myself more? How can I get certifications? And oftentimes I find that that is not the blocker. The blocker is, do you have the right job search strategy? Right? And a lot of people, because the job search market has changed, it's very different from what it was, you know, 2 years ago, right? So you can't use the same old techniques that I was just gonna apply, and maybe even just tailor my resume. Like, you can't just use the same old techniques and expect to get like really good jobs, right? So the mistake I see a lot of people doing is that they just think, okay, if I just get my PMP, I will be able to get a lot of jobs. So what that's not usually the case based on my experience. I've seen, even in this job market, I've seen many people that are not PMPs get jobs, right? I usually like to say the person, the hiring decision is a buying decision, right? So a company has maybe $150,000, $200,000, $300,000, and they have a problem that they want to solve. So they have money to throw at that problem. You have to show that you're going to be the best investment, right? Once you do that, the job is yours, right? And you can do that without a PMP. Not to say that it's a bad idea to get a PMP. In fact, if you do have the ability to get a PMP, get it. You know, but oftentimes what I find is that people don't have the right job search strategy, and they think, okay, just getting the PMP would help them. I meet a lot of people that have done that. They get the PMP and then they come to me looking for help when it comes to getting a job, right? So that's my take. It might not necessarily be the most popular take, but that's my take. All right, let's go to more questions. All right. Someone says, I love the conversation around coaching. I am a very tried myself kind of person, and I've learned way too many hard lessons. Yeah. So, I think a lot of times what you are doing is that you might be able to get there. Like, without coaching, it might take you, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years to get there. But then with coaching, like, you really shorten the time, right? So, I guess it's now up to you. Like, do I want to go through the headache? Do I want to go through, the pain? Or do I want to just cut it short and just get to my destination very quickly, right? So, it really depends on you. And for me, I was the same way, way back when, like, I couldn't quite justify, you know, why I should spend money on a coach. Why should I invest on a coach? But then the yeah, the investment pays off, for itself. And for many good coaches, they will be able to articulate the ROI. Like, okay, if
Mm-hmm.
with my service, it should pay off by, for itself in the next month, in the next 3 months. So usually you want to do that. You don't just like, there's so many coaches out there. So you want to make sure that you always do your due diligence, like look at reviews, maybe even speak to people that they've helped, and know it's a calculated risk. Nothing will ever be 100% guaranteed, right? But it's a calculated risk. Like, okay, if I invest this much, this is how much ROI I expect. And then when you make that decision, like the best coaches are lifesavers. I mean, I can speak from experience. All right. So I'm just gonna move on to another question. Uh, all right. So Sunday from Nigeria says, in some situations, project managers only happen to get sufficient experience to be certified. However, those PMs might not get to manage projects that will help reinforce their capabilities and experiences. Are there existing available globally? Are there existing available globally, whether paid or voluntary, that can help with this problem, but the inability to sustain practice for consolidated capability and experience? Let me see if I understand that. Does that make sense to you, Mehnaz? I'm gonna have to reread that.
I think they're asking if there are at least from what I understand, is like if there are opportunities where you can start gaining experience.
Hmm. Yeah. So you're certified. You are,
Mm-hmm.
paper, like you look like a good PM, but how can you like build on that so that you can have the relevant experience?
Mm-hmm.
That's my take, right? Is that your take as well?
Yeah, yeah, that's my take as well.
Any ideas?
Um, yes, again, I feel like there are so many opportunities where you can demonstrate your experience and skills. Um, Volunteering is the best way. Like, even reaching out to, like, if you don't know where to start, maybe reaching out to the project management chapters, be a part of the project management community, because the chapters is a good way to start getting some volunteer hours there. But if you are very specific niched, like for example, if you're a PM in the HR industry or in the IT industry, then you can start looking into what are some nonprofits or charities or small businesses or even startups that are working in that industry in different countries, and maybe you can just reach out to them, right? Don't wait to see if they have a job posting out there, because some of the opportunities, whether it's voluntary or even actual job, I found just by reaching out to people. They didn't have a job posting, they didn't have anything out there, but I just reached out, shoot my shot, and had a meeting, and I found a lot of different opportunities that way. Some of them were voluntary, but you start somewhere because you build your skills and your network, and then eventually things will happen.
Right. Amazing. Next question from Selfine. I'm an international student in the US studying an MBA. I do have a PMP and 5 years of experience in project management. I will be eligible for CPT starting spring 2026. Do you think I should apply for internships? Because most want students with no experience. Also, being an international student is a blocker to even landing internships. How can I navigate this?
I'm not sure which university are you in, but a lot of the universities do have like their network of organization. Like for example, for my like our charity NL Eats, we hire a lot of students from Arizona State University, and they're paid by the university to do their project with us. And some students just like again work to build experience, you can start looking into the ecosystem, because as a student, especially in your university, there might be a lot of different experience, like opportunities that are already there, that might not be as well advertised. Because one thing I always find, whether I'm searching job or even when I was a student looking into scholarship, is like a lot of good things are not sometimes well advertised.
Right, right. No, for sure. 100%. I agree. And I think that the fact that you have experience, um, it shouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
prevent you from getting internships. And often, I've seen a lot of people with international experience come in, and that's been their
Mm-hmm.
way into the local job
Mm-hmm.
market, right? And even for the employer, like it is a it's a win for them because you are higher you're operating at a level below your skill set, right? So I mean, it's not
Mm-hmm.
it's so it's good for the employer, and for you, it's your door into the local labor market, right? So it's temporary, and then you can now like now rise to your
Mm-hmm.
level of skill set, right? Okay, so that's from Selfine. Let's see. So next question, Mukhtar, your content is amazing. Thank you. And these live sessions are incredible. Thank you. Yeah, keep the flattery coming. Flattery will get you. I'm really right on the cusp of going fully fractional, as a lot of organizations could benefit immensely from the PM skill set,
Mm-hmm.
experience, and business acumen I possess. But I'm also attracted to the security of a full-time PM role that is within the confines of an organization. Can you speak to that? Mehnaz, what are your thoughts?
Yes. Um, I feel like you can do both, to be honest. I feel like explore both and see what works best for you, because that's exactly what I did. I explored a full-time PM role in a corporate setting. Even beyond that, I explored my PM role in different industries. So within the government, I kind of moved around. Like I was a PM in a HR department, a finance department, account security, like cyber security, and my last one was heavily like IT.
Hmm.
But outside, I was also doing like consultancy as well as a PM. Um, Again, if your job allows that, or if there's no conflict of interest, then I would recommend like, looking into like both option to see what works best for you.
Right. And one thing that I would just add to is, this notion of security, right? Because I feel like, you hear this thing of job security is dead. And I think one of the
Hmm.
ways to mitigate the risk is by having multiple streams
Yes.
and multiple things, right? So yeah, you can still be in your 9 to 5, but still be working maybe fractionally
Hmm.
working elsewhere. And you never know. I mean, like, God forbid, but if anything were to happen with your 9 to 5, then you have these other things on the side, and you can even maybe double down there. Or it could happen that, all right, you see that your side hustle is taking off, and then you can
Hmm.
gracefully exit from your 9 to 5, right? So yeah, just to Mehnaz's point, like you can do both if you have the
Both.
capacity, right?
And in fact, I feel like that makes you more employable as well, like more attracted to recruiter.
Right.
Because I found, at least from my own journey as well, like um I stop looking for a job, but now I get a lot of job offers.
Right, right.
And I
And
don't think I would, right, if I was just working at a job. I feel like a lot of this offers that I'm attracting is due to the diversity of what I've been doing.
right, right. And 100%, I have is the same experience, with me, because I was doing a lot of this while I was in my 9 to 5, and you just get more job offers, and also even the way you approach your 9 to 5 is going to be
Mm-hmm.
different, right? It's not like,
Very different.
my goodness, this is it. I just want to be
No,
forward. I'm going to be in a toxic environment and deal with all the crap no matter what, right? So
no.
you come in with a different mindset. You're treated differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to be in a position where you have options, right? So 100%, I agree. All right, let's see. Melanie Francis, have you landed PM side jobs that are okay with you working evening hours? I have an 8 to 4, and have the capacity to work in the evening. What do you
I
think?
personally have.
Okay.
I have worked with small businesses and clients. Not exactly like a traditional PM role, but I was, like I said, kind of diversifying. So at that time, I was, maybe helping them. One client, I was helping them with their social media strategy. So I was doing that offline after my job. There was another client I was kind of helping. Uh, it's all at the end of the day PM related work because you're like helping them strategize, organize certain process within their business ecosystem. But I feel like if you are able to demonstrate and add value, right now people are more open-minded into like they're not confined into that, it has to be 9 to 4 or 8 to 5, especially in the consultancy business, and especially if you're serving small businesses, they are more open and flexible when it comes to hours.
Right. I find that a lot of times it's more outcome driven. Like as
Mm-hmm.
long as you can hit these milestones,
Exactly.
then you get compensated. And also that's also something to think about when you are crafting your offer. Like, okay, this
Mm-hmm.
is what I can do. These are the milestones, and then you craft payment based on those milestones, right? So that's also something that you can do. All right. So I think if you have more questions, you can keep them coming. But we're done with all the questions that are there. Mehnaz, I just want to go into maybe this last topic before we wrap up. So you have a lot of things that you're doing at the same time. How do you manage it all? Like, what yeah, I guess that's a very open-ended question. How do you manage it all in terms of making it a reality? And then also maybe how do you manage yourself emotionally just to make sure that, you're able to not go crazy?
So I think we were speaking about it a little bit in our initial conversation as well. I really treat project management skill set as a life skill. So I feel like my mindset, my life kind of changed ever since I got my PMP. Because I was able to utilize a lot of that in my day to day, how I organize myself. And if you like in PMP, even emotional intelligence, self-regulation, like a lot of that is there in theory, right? But if we start putting that in practice, you can see like 360-degree shift in your day. Like for example, I'll say like this is something advice I give to my clients as well. If someone is applying for a job, treat applying for a job as a project, right? So break it down like you would manage like a project, like like all of the tasks, your high priorities, the task prioritization, everything. Treat it like a project. So I treat all of my commitments into a project, right? Like I have my Kanban board of, my day to day, what are my activities. I have my time boxes into, even my procrastination time is time boxed. So everything is, very much aligned with what we are taught in project management. And the mindset is a big thing, right? So, for example, in Agile, we are taught like, okay, focus more on, customer collaboration over comprehensive documentation. So that one simple line in my mindset has significantly changed. Let's say if I'm working with a client, I always keep that in my mind that, okay, what is the value I'm providing? What is the value I'm providing? Even same with the charity, like anytime we run a project, we're like, okay, what's the value? So a lot of the things that, I have learned in PMP is what I utilize every day and not just in my job, but using those to manage my day, manage my work, manage my different commitment, and also the mindset.
Nice, nice. All right. So you take the principles and the methodologies from the project management space and you
Mm-hmm.
apply that not just
Mm-hmm.
to your work but to life. And that's how you're able to manage yourself, right? Is that
Yes.
okay?
And I'll share some tools as well. So, for example, I use Notion a lot. So Notion is what I call like my second brain. So
Mm.
it's not my project management system, but it's my information management system, which is also another, like I can talk about it for a long time, how important it is to have a very good information management system, because right now we are in an era where so many things are thrown at us and it can get overwhelming for anyone and everyone. Doesn't matter how high your EQ, emotional intelligence is. So it's very important to build yourself a good information management system so that you can always revert back to it. For my project management system, my life project management system, I use monday.com. And there, like, I have my Kanban board set up. So anything that's not there, I don't like, it's not a priority for me. It's not my task. It's not something that I do, right? And for all of my role, I only put three high priority for, like, for example, for my charity, I'm only gonna do three high priority tasks in my day. If I can get to the medium, that's perfect. But my goal is always to get through my high priority. So I feel like self-organizing and using the right tools and workflows really helps. And even the reflection, right? So I do my retrospective every either Friday or Sunday, where I sit and I'm like, okay, what are some of the things that happened in my week that I could have done better or I couldn't get through. For example, I was applying to this grant, government grant for our charity, and I just put myself into a task that applied to the government grant, but I couldn't finish it in time, and I was devastated. But later on, when I did my reflection, I was like, I shouldn't have put as a PM, I shouldn't have put apply to a grant as a task. I should have broken it down into, what are the requirements, and do a better estimate of the time required to do that task, right? So next time when I applied to another grant, I was able to better estimate and, break it down even further, and that way I was able to meet my goal. So I feel like, small things like that, and it takes time to build this habit, but I feel like, you start and you build this habit, it will go a long way.
Nice, nice. No, thank you for sharing that. So just to quickly summarize, so you have an information management tool, which is Notion. These are not sponsored messages, so information
No.
management tool Notion. For project management you use Monday, and then you, for each, I guess, major project or company, you have three
Yes.
high priorities, and then you try to do retrospectives at the end of the week, right? That's sort of how you manage things.
Exactly, at a high level. Yeah.
Level. Nice, nice, nice. So I think that's a good place to close. I just wanted to just quickly do, because we sort of touched on different things. Just wanted to do a quick wrap up. So today we talked about how you can, as a PM, how you can use your skills to earn extra money. So extra, how you can use your skills to earn extra income. So we started out by talking about the decision to leave your 9 to 5, and we said that might work for some people. For others it makes
Hmm.
sense to start something on the side while you are at your 9 to 5, and then you can decide whether you leave your 9 to 5. Now, in terms of deciding on what to do, so we talked about the, I guess, ikigai framework, where it's like,
Hmm.
what are you good at, what are your skills, what are you interested in, and what is the market demanding. So the intersection of those, you can pick out something to start. And Mehnaz, from your perspective, like, you always sort of look at, what problem am I looking to solve, as opposed to what
Hmm.
business do I want to build. It's like, what problem do I want to solve? And that could be a good guiding principle. And then take support along the way, so mentors, coaches, and you have different mentors for different domains. And then for coaches,
Hmm.
you pay them, and of course, before you take on a coach, you do a reverse interview, right? And you make sure that there's a right
Hmm.
fit. And yeah, and then you laid out your system for how you stay organized. So this is my summary of everything I heard you say. Did I miss out on
That's
it?
amazing. No, that's amazing. I don't know how you remembered all of that, but you put it into a nice summary. Thank you.
Yeah, practice, 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 practice.
Yes.
Mehnaz, this was so amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Despite all the internet troubles, if
Mhm.
people want to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
The best part would be to connect with me via LinkedIn, and I always welcome, any messages, any question. I'll try to get back to you instantly or as soon as I can. I also have a website, so you can check out my website. It's www.mehnaztabassum.com.
Okay, awesome. Mehnaz, so your first name, your last name, dot com, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mehnaz. And yes, see you all next week. Next week, we have another amazing episode. So make sure you tune in next week. All right. Take care,
Thank you
y'all.
so much. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.